Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ. This is going to be sort of a continuation to my last Why I'm Worried About Spider-Man No Way Home video. Whereas in that one, I talked a lot about the multiverse and how the story is going to seem like a big convoluted mess, at least given the information we have. This one I want to talk more about Spidey himself and how some decisions that are being made I don't think are at all good. I am going to be talking about the toy leaks in this one, so I will have the images on screen for those when it's relevant. It won't be like the first video where it was just me. There will be some images on screen from time to time. First things first, I want to talk about Doctor Strange, because we've known for a while that Doctor Strange is in this movie. And I assumed it was a cameo role, because in the comics, Doctor Strange helps deal with the fact everyone knows Peter's identity. I also thought it might set up Multiverse of Madness, but given his presence and given how present he is in the toys, it is leading me to believe that he's actually super important to the movie. In fact, I think reports are coming out that he is super important to the movie, which means two things. First, this is not a standalone Spidey movie, and two, Peter has a new mentor, and I have a lot of issues with that because they haven't even mentioned Uncle Ben once in the MCU. And then, we had Tony, and now we have Doctor Strange. And given what some of these toys showed, which we're about to get into in a sec, Peter is way too important, or Doctor Strange, I guess, is way too important in this movie, and Peter is way too connected to Doctor Strange. So let's hop into some of these toy leaks that we got. First off, let's talk about these Lego sets. So we get an image of a Sanctum Sanctorum set, a play set. It's not like the big modular one we had for Infinity War. This is more just a little diorama, I guess. And it comes with Spidey, MJ, Strange, and Wong. And Spider-Man had a new suit. It was kind of like the Iron Spider. It had like design similarities to the Iron Spider, but it was not the Iron Spider. It had a giant golden spider on it. At first, I wasn't sure on it. I'm gonna be real, this isn't gonna be all negativity, okay? Because I'm about to say something positive right here. The suit's starting to grow on me. Not a fan of it, but it's starting to grow on me. And we get the set and I'm like, oh, a Sanctum Sanctorum set. That means Sanctum Sanctorum's important to the movie, first. And I know LEGO makes stuff up all the time, like the Endgame sets. They kind of just make stuff up, but I don't think that's the case here. The Endgame sets that they made up were ridiculous things, like Cap having a motorcycle 19 times his size. This is not ridiculous like that. But then we get two other sets. Now on the boxes, these say inspired by blank. But they're No Way Home sets, ultimately. The first one's like a little 4+ set with a new Mysterio figure, who, by the way, looks great. And then we get the advanced suit. It's the black and red suit. I might get that just because I want that figure, because I love that suit. I think it's one of the best live-action Spider-Man suits we've had. And that says, inspired by Spider-Man Far From Home. I can buy that one not being a No Way Home set. But then we get the other one, which was inspired by Spider-Man Homecoming, and it was new vulture wings. There's like some giant drone thing, I guess, and then Peter's got a black and gold suit on. And at first, I thought that black and gold suit was just LEGO making stuff up, because they can. But then the action figure images were revealed. And let's dive into these action figure images and the pop images. First off, we get an action figure for this integrated suit, as they're calling it, which is the new one with that gold spider, and we get one for that black and gold suit, which basically to me says, yeah, that's in the movie. That's not a Lego creation. That's not just a toy creation. If multiple companies are making this, I think it's safe to assume it's a suit that's in the movie. But action figures tend to not always be real. I mean, we got so much fake stuff for Far From Home, and that's when I looked to the Funko Pops. I was like, let's see what the Pops are doing, because those seem pretty accurate most of the time.
He has magic now. That's magic on the suit. The integrated suit. The name means it's integrated with magic.
It's beyond clear at this point that once Sony was given the playground of the MCU to put Spider-Man in, that they no longer cared about doing Spider-Man. They cared about experimenting with Spider-Man and seeing how absolutely absurd they could make him. Because this doesn't scream Spider-Man to me. Nothing about this screams Spider-Man to me. Which is a problem in a movie named Spider-Man. And I want to talk a bit about the stories they're choosing to tell, too. I think the story of Homecoming is genuinely fantastic. I think Homecoming is really close to being one of the all-time great Spider-Man films. My issues with Homecoming do not really lie in the story. I love the Peter Parker story they told in that of he fought in Civil War. He feels like an Avenger. Now he needs to learn that he's not. He's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I love that story. My issue with Homecoming lies with the fact that his Spider-Man suit that he wears for most of that movie is just an Iron Man suit made of cloth. It's got like 573 different web combinations, and it's got an AI, and it's got like lenses that relay information to him. It's covered in tech. It's got a drone that comes out of his chest. It's not the suit's not Spider-Man. The story is great. And so going into Far From Home, I was like, okay, can we tone it down a bit on how crazy his suit is? But no, they embrace the Iron Man Jr. And in Far From Home, what happens is he's kind of living in Iron Man's shadow. He fought with the Avengers, and now it's no, he's not Iron Man. He just needs to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Does that story sound familiar? Because it's the same story they told in Spider-Man Homecoming. Peter Parker's story, the story of Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, are the exact same. Peter Parker's story in both of these movies is beat for beat the exact same. It's such a plagiarism of Far From Home is such a plagiarism of Homecoming's story. It's hilarious. Yeah, I know there's differences. Mysterio is obviously not like the Vulture. But let's look at how much they copied, okay? Spider-Man Homecoming starts. He's like, yo, I'm a flippin' Avenger now. And then the whole movie, right? He's kind of trying to prove himself as being this guy. And then at the end, he gets a pep talk from Tony Stark. And Tony says, hey, you're not that guy. You just need to be you. You just need to be Spider-Man. And then Spidey goes into Spidey mode and beats the villain. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, yo, he's his own guy now. He's not the next Iron Man. He's Spider-Man. Spider-Man Far From Home comes along. And the movie starts with Peter trying to prove himself. He's trying to be that guy, the next Iron Man. Until everything goes wrong and he gets a pep talk from Happy this time, because Tony's dead, and Happy tells him, hey, you're not that guy. You just need to be Spider-Man. You need to be you. And then Peter goes into Spidey mode, beats the villain, and then at the end he's like, hey, I'm not the next Iron Man. I'm Spider-Man. And you can bet your asses that that's going to be the same story Peter Parker has in No Way Home. And that brings us to the fact that why can't we just get normal Spider-Man in New York? He went to DC. I didn't have an issue with that. Some people do. They have an issue with him leaving New York in every movie he appears in, because he goes to DC in Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't care that he went to DC in Spider-Man Homecoming. It was fine. I don't have an issue with it. I don't know why people do, because it was brief. Then he goes to space and he fights Thanos. Then he appears in the portal scene and he's kicking ass and it's great, beautiful to watch. And then we get to Far From Home and he's out of the country the entire movie. And now we're fast forwarding to No Way Home. And you'd think it's going to be Spidey in New York, but no, it's not. Because now he gets magic enhancement and almost certainly the multiverse, fighting a villain that's not even a villain native to his universe, that he has no connection to. People like to say that the Tom Holland Spider-Man villains are Iron Man villains. And while to some extent I agree, I'm going to debunk why that's not entirely true. Even though Adrian Toomes starts out hating Tony Stark, his goal is never to get back at Tony Stark. And his connection with Peter is through the fact that he's Liz's dad. So there's an emotional connection there. In Far From Home, yeah, Mysterio wants to get back at Tony. Mysterio is the example of an Iron Man villain just fighting Spider-Man. But the relationship that Peter Parker and Quentin Beck build, even though it's, fake and Quentin Beck's just playing Peter, they still have an emotional connection. Peter feels a connection with Quentin Beck. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is not ever going to feel a connection with Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. He's not going to feel a connection with Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. He's not going to share a connection with Jamie Foxx's Electro. Because these are not villains that ever had a connection to Tom Holland, Peter Parker. The emotional weight of that story is going to be entirely dependent on Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Two characters who are not MCU characters at all. I don't want Iron Man Jr. Most people don't want Iron Man Jr. Most people don't want Doctor Strange Jr. What people want is a New York Spider-Man Peter Parker character-driven story. I posted on Reddit. And I said, because there was a post about someone saying, what Easter eggs and what fan service do you want to see pop up in the multiverse story? And I said, I don't want... I said, I know it's a comic book franchise adapted from comic books, and obviously there's certain things from those comic books that you would want and expect to see. That said, I hate the term Easter egg and fan service. Nothing has made me hate the terms Easter eggs and fan service more than Spider-Man No Way Home. Because what has basically happened is this Reddit post, for example, is basically what wrote this latest Spider-Man trilogy. Because Sony has no interest in normal Spider-Man. They did that 5 times. And they're like, oh, we're not going to do that again. Even though, 3 of those I prefer to anything that they've put out in the MCU. And I said, the goal of the new Spider-Man movies is that Sony wants to make Spider-Man as cool as possible. And how they accomplish that is seeing, people talk about the fan service they want, what they don't want to see, and that's how we get stupid stuff like Spider-Man wielding magic. There's two types of fan service. There's good fan service, and then there's everything else, which you could call bad fan service, but it's really anything other than fan service designed to serve the story. For example, two things of fan service designed to serve the story: Cap lifting Mjolnir and Cap saying Avengers Assemble. This was something, it was built up. Did it have to be in the movie? No, but it's good fan service that did not come at the expense of story. But it becomes really hard to appreciate a story where it's all about Spider-Man trying not to become the next Iron Man just to put in the song that plays at the start of Iron Man. I said it in my last video, and I'm going to say it now in part 2. I hope the movie's good. I sincerely hope the movie's good. I don't think it's going to be good. I think I'm going to walk away super disappointed, but I hope the movie's good. You know what would make this great for me? If Toby and Andrew don't show up. If it's not actually a multiverse and all this stuff is just fake. I said it last time, I'll say it again. The internet's gonna lose their minds over this movie, because if multiverse stuff doesn't happen, people will be upset. If it does happen, people will be upset. There's no way to avoid it. But to me, what I want from No Way Home, I love Toby and Andrew. I don't want to see them again. If they do an Amazing Spider-Man 3 independent from the MCU, cool, I'm all there for it. I want to see Andrew Garfield again. I don't want to see Andrew Garfield again in this movie. I want this movie to focus on Spider-Man doing normal Spider-Man things in New York. And I know I'm not getting that because, that's right, he has magic. I can't believe I'm not looking forward to this movie. It feels like the whole world is looking forward to Spider-Man No Way Home, and I really don't care. My interest in this movie, my excitement for this movie, has been on a steady decline ever since they confirmed that Doctor Strange is in it. It's just been... Coming out of Far From Home, I was beyond excited. You know why I was beyond excited? Because some of the most interesting Spider-Man stories come from after his identity is revealed. Like, Aunt May dies, you see Spidey start to cross that line, and I was so excited to see that. And then they announced Doctor Strange, and then we got the Toby and Andrew stuff, and we got Alfred Molina talking, which was confirmed that no, he wasn't bullshitting when Kevin Feige made a joke about him confirming stuff. It's just been like my excitement's going so far down. I'm gonna need a trailer. The trailer is what will determine my hype for this movie. If I watch the trailer and I see multiverse stuff, which I will, I probably won't be as enthusiastic. The trailer can be the greatest friggin' thing I've ever seen. The trailer could be better than the first trailer for Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'm still gonna feel not happy. Why does Spider-Man have magic? We'll see what happens, guys. I don't plan on making a part 3. I mean, I didn't plan on making a part 2, but then they revealed more stuff. I hope I don't have to make a part 3, because that would just mean there's more stuff about this movie that I hate. It hasn't even come out yet. This is my Joker origin story. I hope it's good. I really hope it's good. I'll become religious if I have to and pray that it's good. I'll pray to every deity. Christian, Muslim, Greek, Roman, Norse. I don't care. Just please, please, this movie, please just be good. But as a Spider-Man fan, as someone who loves Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, The Amazing Spider-Man, and doesn't even think that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is all that bad, I can tell you right now, 137% sure this movie will let me down. Because it doesn't scream Spider-Man to me. Whatever hope there was of this being a true Spider-Man movie was gone the moment I saw him with magic. And after you see Spider-Man with magic, there's really not much that can make you not disappointed. Here's hoping it's good.